Yeah, I get to follow the comedian. I'm not funny. So the text that I'd been dreading for years finally came September 2022. I'd just been at a meeting and I got back into my car and I saw the text. Call me now, is all it said. Already feeling defeated from the fight we'd had the day before, I dialed my daughter's number. Totally thinking we were going to rehash the previous day's events. But instead, she had a questioning, curious voice. And she said, "Mom, I just did a genealogy kit through 23andMe. And I have a 26% match with a female in Calgary." And just like that, my life unraveled. The walls came crashing in. I couldn't breathe. I started to shake. I felt sick to my stomach. And through gut-wrenching tears, I told her about the secret that I'd been carrying for 35 years. You see, back in my late teens, I was dating a man who, his hobbies were playing hockey, drinking beer, mentally and emotionally abusing me, and cheating. And after 35 infidelities, and the reason I know is because I got 35 different things of flowers, and they were roses. To this day, I hate roses. But after over 35 infidelities, I had one of my own. And then I carried on like nothing happened. 3 months later, I was getting ready for work, and I felt sick. And it wasn't flu-like, and it wasn't a hangover. It was a Monday morning. This was different. And I thought, oh my God. So off to the doctors I went, and sure enough, I was pregnant. But I carried on like nothing happened. 6 months later, I gave birth to my daughter. 6 months after that, I was down in Calgary, my hometown, and I was out for a walk with my daughter, and a car drove by, pulled over, stopped, and got out, and walked towards my daughter and I. And he pointed to her and said, "Who's this?" And I said, "I think she might be yours." So his response floored me, took me back, and he said, "Are you just looking for money? Because I'm in a really good relationship right now, and I don't want anything to F it up." I was shocked, I was stunned, I was hurt. And I said, "No, I don't want your money. I just thought you should know." So he drove off, and I went back to my parents' home where I was staying for the weekend. And I told them, I finally told somebody, "I don't know who the father of my daughter is." And the response was generational. "Well, if you don't know, don't open up the can of worms. Just sweep it under the rug." So I did just that. And I never told another soul for 35 years. I went home, back to Edmonton, and I pretended like nothing happened. And I married that man. 4 months later, he got his final affair pregnant. And there I was, 20 years old, single, with a daughter, no help, no friends here in Edmonton. I was by myself, no job. But I left, and I raised my daughter on my own. He came in and out of her life, but he's not a good person. And I continued like nothing happened. And I just pushed it down, further and further. And I hated myself. I despised myself. Every day I would say, I'm a horrible person. You're a horrible mom. You don't deserve to be here. I suffered from depression for 17 years. I suffered from anorexia for 17 years. And I had crippling anxiety in my 30s. And I couldn't figure out why. Why is all of this happening to me? But I just kept shoving it down. Eventually I had a successful business. And people looked at me like, oh, she's got it all together. She's got a good business. By then I'd married a second man and had twins and got divorced from him too. But on the outside, I looked like I had it all together. But I didn't. I was floundering. I'd be driving on a highway and I'd think, oh, if I just turned now, I could come into oncoming traffic and kill myself. Or I'd be driving under a bridge, oh, I just have to turn slightly and kill myself. Because that would be better. Then my daughter could have someone that was better than me. And the guilt from her dad, he came in and out of her life. And then when she was older, she came in and out of his. So after I told my daughter all this, by now I'm sitting on the back, the floor of my back entrance. And she had a different tone this time. It wasn't confused and curious. She said, Mom, I need time to think. I need time to process. And I said, absolutely, take your time. But I knew with every inch of my being that would be the last time I ever heard her voice or saw her or my grandkids again. And you see, we had been best friends. We talked 2 to 3 times a day on the phone or texting. I saw her and my grandkids 2 to 3 times a week. She lives 8 minutes away. But I knew I would never see her again. So I said, by all means, take all the time you need. And we hung up. And I called one of my sons. I have twins. I'm really close to one. In fact, he just texted me, like literally 1 minute before I got up here. And I said, I love you. I'm proud of you. And I'm so grateful you're my son. And I hung up. And I phoned his daughter, or my daughter-in-law, his wife, and I said, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad you're in our lives, and I love you. And I hung up. Got up off the floor and deadbolted that back door, and I walked over to my front door and I deadbolted that one too. And I made my way up to my bedroom. Crawled in bed, and I pulled the covers up over me tight. And through sobbing tears, I reached into my nightstand and I pulled that bottle of pills out. And I poured them in my hand and I swallowed. But God had a different plan for me. I don't know why I'm still here, but I woke up sick, groggy, but I woke up. And that was the start of my last 3 years of just pouring myself into personal growth. And what I've learned is I have forgiven myself for the decision I made at 19 years old. And I've come to understand why I never told her all those years. Is I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was protecting her. And I've now forgiven myself for that. And that toxicity of the blame and shame and guilt that we carry inside, it was slowly killing me. And so even though I miss my daughter and my grandkids dearly, I think it was the best thing that could have happened. Because I would have died. I was slowly killing myself. I was extremely sick for 2 years. I was down to 99 pounds. No one could figure out what was wrong. But I hated myself so much that the toxicity was killing me. And my story, I share it because I want others to know that we are not the sum of our worst mistake. Thank you. And we need to rid ourselves of that blame and shame and guilt that just carries us down, pulls us down like an anchor in the sea. Because we're worth more than that. We are worth more than that. And I'm going to stay under the buzzer. But thank you so much for listening. Sorry I couldn't add humor into that, but I'm alive.
You said in your talk, when you swallowed the pills and you don't know why, but you're still here. We know why, right?